Yes. I am unabashedly a lover of the tea, the herb, the devil's lettuce, grass, dope. I actually have heard some people refer to it as dope. They tend to be, boomers though. But here I will, as I roll a joint, I will talk about using pot medicinally for the last 3 years daily, and how over the last few weeks, and with some brief considerations to like when I was microdosing, I stopped for periods of time, and how I felt I changed in those periods where I wasn't smoking, fucking chimneys dawn to dusk. Because I think there's like a hell of a lot of medicinal properties of pot, but I think, like anything, if you start to use it, like, beyond the point of what is moderate and sufficient for you, and it can have side effects. I found it had side effects anyways. Like, for example, uh, memory. That's a big thing, and it's kind of stereotype almost that stoners have such bad memory, and like, they're always living in a cloud, basically. And I was like, no, this is not necessarily true. Like, there are some people who are completely functional and who are not affected by that, because, like, that also brings to mind. I gotta give you a disclaimer here. You know, I consider pot almost like a hallucinogen because of how variable the subjective effects can be. Um, and it can get quite hallucinogenic if you take it in edible form. But uh, because of that, just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because it may affect you differently. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I found that for me, because I have very bad ADD, like it would help me focus, which was a very interesting sort of property that I sort of stumbled upon, but it would not help me focus overall like ADD medication or microdosing. It would help me focus in a sense that whatever I was doing, whatever was in front of me, I could focus on. And it was just like it was kind of canceling out the noise around me. So I was doing something like exercising or writing, something expressive and creative. Very, very good for that. I, but that's again just me. Like I know people with autism who benefit from being stoned 24/7, and I think autism is like kind of like an exacerbated form of ADD. I think they're all kind of on the same broader spectrum. Um, and so I think, someone with ADD as severe as myself, who has been misdiagnosed with autism, it can benefit. But after a point where, like, I'm using it all the time, I found that my energy would just drain. So I would, I would kind of have to do it in a way that I would already start something, because I like finding that motivation after being stoned all the time is very hard. So I'd have to start something, and then I would load up like a bowl into my vaporizer, and I would get stoking. But like the real casualty of daily use was my my dreams. Like my sleep didn't necessarily suffer. Like a weird thing with me is I actually can't sleep when I'm stoned. It's just like the opposite for most people. They only sleep when they're stoned. But I got to the point where like I was smoking a big doob every hour of the day. I'm taking 100 milligram edible at night, maybe two. And yeah, just getting fucking blasted. And I did that for about 6 months. And like I was still able to be functional. Like I had, you know, 8 hours a day that I had to do a work type course, and I did it. Like I made the mistake of taking an edible once during that, and yeah, I was fairly out of it, and I really didn't retain anything. But that's the thing. I almost consider edibles like a different drug altogether because they are so intense compared to just like smoking. Like I find you can get sort of similar effects with a distillate, but like distillates still they're not producing that psychoactive compound that your liver produces when you ingest THC and your liver processes it, creates a third chemical which is much more psychedelic in its effects. Um, like now, I have a policy of very rarely doing edibles because they do like really mess me up. Um, but yeah, I just found that like if I want to get that messed up, then I will do something else that doesn't cloud my mind quite as much. Because like that's brings to mind another thing, which is that I found it would affect my overall focus. Like yes, it would enhance the focus on what's in front of me, but what's going on around me would just kind of be in this haze. So yeah, like calling attention to other stuff could be problematic sometimes. Um, and as for pain relief, like when I stopped using ketamine pretty much cold turkey, ketamine is just like the perfect drug for nerve pain. Like it really, um, it annihilates your sensation for basically everything. So that includes nerves, and there's not much that like really does affect nerve pain. I mean, pot helps, but it doesn't mitigate it in any way. I find what it does, and I've talked to other people who have physical pain or nerve pain or both, and they told me that, like, my observation about how pot helps is essentially um, correct. And that observation is that it essentially what it does is it doesn't reduce the pain, but it creates different signals for your brain to focus on than the pain. And that actually, may sound like a bit of a letdown, but that is one of the best things I've learned when it comes to nerve pain. Distraction. Take it where you can get it. It is one of the best painkillers. Because, like, yeah, as I said, not much kills my pain, unfortunately. Even ketamine, which will like stop me from feeling everything, I'll still feel my pain like under a blanket of numbness, just going, "Fuck you, buddy." Um, but yeah, so like recently, since I started drinking coca, I found the desire to smoke pot has gone down substantially. And I kind of had the same effect when I microdosed LSD. I don't know why I stopped that. I still got microdoses. I still got LSD, but I don't know. I think why is I didn't want being in a psychedelic mind space all the time to take away from the novelty of macrodoses. And the thing is, people say microdoses will negatively impact a macrodose in terms of not being able to get the full effect. Outside of what I just explained, I don't think that's true because I've done it many times. But I digress. Um, yeah, like I find a pot also would occasionally give me anxiety. Like I'm already a very anxious person, and I think the reason it makes so many people anxious is because it heightens what's already going on beneath the surface. So if you have a ton of stress just balled up and you're not approaching it, you're not dealing with it, then that is going to come out when you get stoned because I feel like it does have this mild hallucinogenic effect of enhancing what's in you and what's around you. I never experienced paranoia on it. I mean, I've never been a paranoid person. I mean, but I've never found myself dwelling or like worrying about stuff that could be or could have been. No, it's more still like social anxiety and stuff like that, which I found would become amplified. Not all the time. I mean, I'd also have the inverse effect sometimes where I would have social anxiety going into a situation, and then I'd be getting stoned in that situation. And I'd completely forget about it and just go with the flow. And I would enter a flow state very similar to what like microdosing would bring out in me, or LSD would bring out in me, um, where I'm removed from thinking in this kind of structured way that humans tend to think. Uh, and yeah, I mean, but one, I guess, other motivation was like, I just didn't dream for 6 months. 6 months, it was just potheads, dreamless sleep. And I think that was mainly because of the edibles. When I cut out the edibles and just smoked it, like my dreams did start to come back a little bit after like months. It took a while. Um, and they've come back since I've cut it down to like, sort of evenings or maybe during the day if I'm with friends. I mean, I guess whenever I'm with friends I'm fucking token, but that's not all the time. Um, and I mean, it's a great social drug. I mean, I'm not someone who drinks alcohol. I'm not someone who likes the effects of alcohol. I'm not someone who enjoys being around other people while they're drunk. Um, and I think like for me, my preference to a bar is like a cozy chill space with some friends. Fucking session of just token, listen to some good music and chill. That is so like just beyond preferable to a bar setting where you're watching people drink themselves to death and you're watching your friends become more monstrous and rowdy and just aggressive and obnoxious. Like, it is such an easy choice for me. It is ridiculous. But that's just me. That's just me at the end of the day. Um, would I recommend using pot daily? I I can't say. I can't say. I don't know how the individual will react to it. As I said, subjective effects mean it affects everyone very differently. Um, so it may work for some, may not work for others. Like I know some people who are like insanely functional, like insanely uh, like prolific and productive and proactive, and they are fucking like smoking blunts all damn day. I personally couldn't do that. I would just end up, falling into like a couple of bags of candy and like end up binging some Netflix shows, like, you know, kind of typical pothead tropes. And I think for the majority of people, you're not going to be super functional if you're stoned all the time. And plus, um, like I found being stoned all the time, like when I was sober, I would be kind of perma-fried, so I would still feel stoned, and it was just like I adapted to those like changes in my perception and my mental mechanics. And so when I stopped, it wasn't that big of a difference, but um, I mean everything. It kind of felt like a very like slight reintegration process back into how my senses really function. Um, but with that being said, if you can get like astounding pain relief, if you can get focus that you wouldn't get otherwise, if you can get sleep because you're an insomniac from smoking pot, all these three things, or any one of those three things really, instead of taking like an addictive pharmaceutical drug, by all means, go for it. Please go for it, because it's honestly better for you at the end of the day. And then there's also the aspect of CBD. CBD, my neuroscience teacher told me, is the only thing she would recommend for sleep, because it is non-intrusive, non-addictive, and non-intrusive to your central nervous system. It is non-addictive, but it does act as a central nervous system depressant, but without risk. So, I mean, CBD though, that's a different ballgame, because it's essentially like you don't get high from it. It's just a sort of sedated, a little bit of sedation, a little bit of relaxation, and yeah, like it's just can help kind of coast you into sleep. And as I said, I have very bad insomnia, but I can't sleep when I'm stoned. I've tried taking, 150 milligrams of edibles before I go to bed to just knock myself right out. And I'll end up just lying there for 6 hours, like, because pedal pop is strong as fuck, especially at those doses. You know, uh, but yeah, that's kind of my retrospective on pot. Take from it what you will, and again, this is one report. This is not sacrosanct by any stretch. So, again, take it with a grain. Take it with a grain. Fucking Adderall. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. Have a good day, damn it.